So here I am mowing a lawn. I've begun the first stripe. Normally I would do stripes in this orientation, but today, when I had a quick look back, I decided that maybe I would do a rayburst or starburst design on this lawn. So off I head in alternate direction. Now this garden is fairly long-standing client of mine. You can't see the two areas of main planting that I've done in the last couple of years. There's some planting that's visible at the end of the lawn here, just passing it now, because the neighbours put up that very tall fence and destroyed a heck of a lot of what was in the borders when they did it. So the idea, anyway, with this rayburst pattern is that you create a sense of distance in the garden. And the way I've done this on this occasion is that I'm basically going back to almost the same point under that cherry tree there, and as I mow each stripe it sort of widens out as I head towards the most distant points, currently off to the right of shot. Eventually it'll come right up against where the camera is currently sat. Didn't manage to get this lawn cut last week, so I am actually cutting relatively low considering the length of the grass here, but it should look really neat. The Hayter Harrier 41 Pro is very effective at picking up a lot of the debris that ends up on this lawn. In addition to the birch tree that you can see under the seating in the middle of the shot, there's also one out to the left, both of which leave a heck of a lot of little scattered bits of twig and stuff. Every now and again this does interfere with the flow of stuff out of the mower and ends up dropping a few little bits of clippings on the lawn, but you can see how much I've taken off even in the short space of time. The first couple of minutes here I've managed to fill the bag. Normally I'd probably only get to the extent of filling the bag, emptying it probably twice at the very most over the whole of the lawn of this size. So the Hayter's been doing a really good job. As I say, I've been working with this client pretty much since I started the company. They don't really give me a huge amount of guidance as to what they want done. They leave me pretty much to my own devices. I spend an awful lot of time on the weeding here because the garden was neglected for something like 10 years in the run-up to when I started working on it. There's a great deal of onion weed in particular, and a lot of ephemeral stuff that's still in the soil. I can only remove a certain amount of that because I'm disturbing both all the existing plants plus anything that I've put in the last few years as well. Don't really want to be digging too deeply in order to get stuff out. Anyway, as you can see, I'm starting to get about a third of the way across this lawn. Now you can see how gradually with each stripe I'm working out just an inch or so difference at each turn at the far end, but nearest to the camera I'm full width of the cutting deck of the mower. As you can see, this, although you can tell that I'm still quite large in this picture, the shortening effect of these stripes means that it looks as though things are a lot further away far end. The Hayter doesn't produce quite the same striping as the Atco that I'd been using up to now, but the most important thing is that the rotary blade on this Hayter really just chews through anything that I'm running over, and it also sucks up anything that's caught in the grass, whereas the cylinder mower that I was using before, whilst it produced a really good finish, anything that was in the sward, basically it would only pick up what was just above the cut height. Anything else was kind of left in there, and it was very easy to prang the blades on any sort of large chunks of wood and anything else that's been left in the grass. And I really don't want to be spending as much time as I was inspecting lawns before cutting them, or having to run the scarifier repeatedly over a lawn before I could even cut it because of the amount of debris that's in the way. There are some drawbacks with the rotary. It doesn't turn on the spot like cylinder would do. You can't see when the collection bag is full. Of course, the collection box on a cylinder is directly in your line of sight. You can see exactly what the state of that is. But this basically hoovers the ground brilliantly as it continues up and down. So I've got to this point where I'm realizing that the snowdrops that have been planted in the ground around that little circular seat that's underneath the birch tree have done their thing. The leaves on them starting to wilt back. They've got all the energy they need, so I can probably get rid of them on this cut. So I'd already been round with the trimmer underneath the seat base itself, tidying up the long grass that's under there. But on this time I decided, right, well, probably going to need to clear up the leaves that are left on those. So in a moment I'm probably going to not sure how far I got before I decided to do the job. I think it was as far as that little twee water feeder that's just in the lifter's shop there. But yeah, I've been really pleased with the both the cut and the pickup on the Hayter, because it's doing a couple of things. The roller on the back is producing these stripes. They're not as strong as the stripes with the heavy roller on the Atco, but they're nice and visible. It does mean that it drives very smoothly, doesn't cut the soil when you engage the land drive. It's got a Honda engine on it, which really only runs at one speed, and you have to walk as fast as the drive goes, which I believe is just over 3 miles an hour. But it makes sure that you get the lawn cut in good time, and means that the engine's running at its most efficient. Starting to go out of shot now because I am working on the grass on the left. There we go. The box was full. I believe at this point I decided to go and fetch the blower to do my tidy up around the bottom of the tree as well. So I just did a couple more stripes, I think, and then started that little job. Yeah, I often vary the directions and the type of cuts that I do. It gives a little bit of variation in the presentation of what I've been doing. To do the same stripes time and time again, you can end up getting a wear pattern in the lawn. If it does suffer from moss or weeds, you can end up dragging the pattern of moss and weeds in the stripes in the lawn, so that it kind of spreads it in one direction. If you cut, usually I do it by the compass points. I will cut one time in a sort of east-west direction, and then a north-south direction. Sometimes I'll do what I call a diamond cut, where I go in a northeast to southwest direction and then a northwest to southeast direction. It takes a little bit longer to do that because you're effectively cutting the entire lawn twice, but the result is that you get the most even finish, and this not quite checkerboard pattern. It's more like a sort of tartan pattern that results from the diamond cut. This rayburst is just a variation. Sometimes I do a ray, on this lawn I've done a rayburst from just on the right of shot, where there's a big border that I planted out with lots of sort of summery seasonal plants, where it was looking very bare before. And sometimes I've cut it across to over the direction where the mower is, which means that you get a lot of variation in the cut that you've got across the grass. I haven't treated this lawn this year. It's probably not going to need the weed killer on it. I'd done it last year, and it really knocked back a lot of the speedwell and a few of the little oddments, little dotted bits and pieces that were around. So it looks as though it's probably going to be all right this time round. I'm planning to do the moss kill though, because just about the area that I've not cut yet, that you can see in the video so far, that's quite thick with moss because it's underneath the two birch trees, the other one just to the left of shot, and that's looking a bit yellow at the moment. It's quite thick with moss. I've previously tried to remove it with the scarifier, mechanical removal, and I've not had a huge amount of success with that, so I think a bit of chemical treatment's going to be the result. The mechanical means, of course, is better for the environment in terms of what you're putting on the lawn, but of course you are running an engine in order to do the scarifying. There's no way that I would have the energy to manually rake this all with a tine rake. Often with these things, the customer just won't pay for the time, or I don't have the time in any one part of the season to do a job fully by hand, and so we resort to machinery, or I resort to chemicals in order to do a job speedily. I'd love to be able to do everything with traditional hand tools and without any chemicals, but can't really offer an organic service. There's no demand for it, and it's hugely time consuming. So we're getting on to the last couple of portions of this lawn now. One of the other problems with this garden is that huge Leandii hedge It runs from that back corner all the way along the left edge, all the way along to the side of the house, and it's I think it was over 25 feet tall the last time before it was cut. Did suggest to the client that they ought to have it reduced because it's just going to keep going up. I can maintain the bottom 3.5 meters of it, but I don't have the equipment. It would be very expensive for me to. It would be expensive for the client if they wanted me to do the job, because they'd have to rent out special equipment and that, whereas a tree surgeon would have the equipment for themselves, and they're better insured for stuff falling out of trees as well. It's very unfortunate. It draws all the water out of the ground. It's on the sort of southwesterly facing side of the garden, so it shades all of that area of the garden. There is a border at that side where I'm mowing at the moment, but it's just totally in the shade. So it's dry, dark, and the air doesn't get to it either, really. It's not the greatest growing conditions. I have put some stuff in there. There's feverfew to try and liven it up a bit, but it's really not the best environment for things. That just shows you how much I've taken off the lawn this time. It's another bag full. Yeah, as I say, I'll usually do this, just empty the bag once during a cut, and then again at the end. The fuel tank on this Honda engine is huge. I only actually have to top it up every couple of weeks. Seems astonishing that you can do hours and hours of mowing, but it does mean that you're not constantly having to mess about with fuel and emptying the bag. You can just get on with watching the line of your cut and making sure that you're getting some even stripes. This model of Hayter doesn't have the blade control. When you release the handle, the brake comes on, it stops the engine and it stops the blade. All the larger models in the Pro range have the proper blade brake, where when you release it, the engine continues to run on an idle and the blade stops. So it does mean that you have to hold on to the blade the whole time on this one. But the mechanism for that is it's quite heavy and quite bulky. So I'm willing to just keep hold of the handle, and I don't mind pulling the starter each time I need to empty the box, because it's only a couple of times, as I say, even on a lawn of a reasonable scale like this one. Maybe sometimes in the year when there's all the debris come out of the lawn and we've not got grass seed heads that sometimes need to be cut, I would bring the Atco cylinder mower to lawns like this that are very level, and it's a reasonably fine grass. It's not a tough sport or family grade grass. It's a mixed grade, but it's erring on the quality side. But the Hayter has been a godsend in terms of being able to tackle lawns that are not as attractive as this one, without the fear of pranging the cylinder. Anyway, there's a little bit more lawn off to the right of the shot here, and what I'm going to be doing as I leave this is I'll be doing the tiny little bits and pieces that are left. But yeah, this has just been me showing you a little bit of the sort of work that I've been doing.